The highway stretched, a ribbon of asphalt unspooling beneath a sky bruised with twilight. Four friends, chasing the last vestiges of summer, found themselves far from any familiar landmark. Laughter, once easy, had begun to fray at the edges, replaced by the hum of the engine and the growing silence between them. A faded, hand-painted sign appeared, half hidden by overgrown weeds. It pointed down a gravel road, promising a shortcut to nowhere. Curiosity, that most dangerous of companions, urged them onward. The air grew heavy, thick, with an unspoken anticipation. The gravel crunched under the tires, a rhythmic whisper in the encroaching gloom. Trees, gnarled and ancient, clawed at the darkening sky, their branches forming a skeletal archway. The road narrowed, winding deeper into a forgotten corner of the world. Then, through a break in the dense foliage, it appeared, a silhouette against the dying light, a monstrous, rusted skeleton of a Ferris wheel. Its silent, broken spokes reached like skeletal fingers towards the heavens. They stopped, the engine dying with a final shudder. Before them lay an abandoned carnival, swallowed by time and neglect. Faded banners, tattered and torn, still clung to their poles, whispering tales of forgotten joy. A gate, half off its hinges, beckoned them inside. The air here was different, heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something metallic and sweet. It was the smell of old sugar and rust, of forgotten dreams and lingering nightmares. The ground beneath their feet was cracked asphalt, littered with debris. A carousel, its painted horses frozen mid-gallop, stood silent and still. Their once vibrant colors were now muted, peeling like sunburnt skin. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant chirping of crickets. It was a silence that felt unnatural, as if the very air held its breath. Every shadow seemed to deepen, to stretch and writhe with unseen life. They moved deeper, drawn by an irresistible, morbid fascination. The attractions stood like monuments to a bygone era, each one a testament to the passage of time. A funhouse, its mirrors shattered, reflected distorted fragments of the encroaching darkness. Then they saw them. Clowns, not living ones but statues, their painted smiles fixed in grotesque grins. Their eyes, once bright and inviting, were now dull and vacant, staring out from beneath layers of dust and grime. One, near the entrance to a dilapidated tent, seemed to watch them with an unnerving intensity. Its painted lips were stretched wide, revealing rows of chipped porcelain teeth. A shiver, cold and unwelcome, traced its way down their spines. The feeling of being observed grew stronger, a prickling sensation on the back of their necks. It was as if the carnival itself was a living entity, its many eyes fixed upon their every move. The air grew colder, despite the lingering warmth of the day. A sudden creak echoed from the Ferris wheel, a groan of tortured metal. They spun around, but nothing moved. The sound seemed to hang in the air, a phantom whisper of motion. Doubt began to creep into their minds, a chilling premonition. A gust of wind, cold and sharp, swept through the grounds. It rustled the tattered banners, making them flap like dying wings. A faint, almost imperceptible melody seemed to drift on the breeze, a distorted echo of calliope music. One of them swore they saw a shadow flicker behind a row of concession stands. Another felt a cold breath on their cheek, though no one was near. The playful curiosity that had drawn them in began to curdle into genuine fear. The clown statues seemed to shift, their painted smiles growing wider, more menacing. Their vacant eyes seemed to follow them, tracking their every step. The carnival was not merely abandoned. It felt as though it was waiting. The air grew heavy, thick with an oppressive dread. The faint music grew louder, more distinct, yet still distorted like a broken record. It was a tune of forced merriment, of laughter that had turned to screams. A sense of history, dark and tragic, began to permeate the very ground beneath their feet. This place had seen more than just joy. It had witnessed something terrible, something that had never truly left. The carnival's past was not buried, it was merely dormant. They tried to leave, to retrace their steps, but the path back seemed to have vanished. The gate, once half open, now stood firmly shut, its rusted chains rattling softly. Panic began to set in, a cold, gripping hand around their hearts. The clown statues were no longer still. Their heads seemed to turn, their painted grins stretching impossibly wide. The carousel horses began to sway, a slow, rhythmic creak accompanying their phantom dance. The calliope music swelled, a cacophony of discordant notes that grated on their nerves. The Ferris wheel groaned, its rusted spokes beginning to turn, slowly, agonizingly. The entire carnival seemed to awaken around them. Shadows detached themselves from the deeper gloom, swirling and coalescing into indistinct forms. Whispers, countless and chilling, filled the air, speaking in a language they could not understand, yet whose meaning was terrifyingly clear. The funhouse mirrors, once shattered, now reflected grotesque shifting images of themselves, their faces contorted in fear. The laughter that echoed through the grounds was not their own. It was the laughter of 1,000 forgotten souls. The clowns were closer now, their painted faces looming in the encroaching darkness. Their eyes, once vacant, now glowed with a malevolent light. They were not statues, they were guardians, or perhaps the very essence of this place. They ran, desperate, through the maze of rusted rides and decaying attractions. Every path seemed to lead them deeper into the carnival's embrace. The ground beneath their feet felt soft, as if it were trying to pull them down. The music reached a fever pitch, a symphony of terror and despair. The air grew thick with the scent of old blood and something else, something cloying and sweet, like rotting candy. The carnival was alive, and it was hungry. The clowns were everywhere, their silent, grinning faces appearing from every shadow. Their porcelain teeth seemed to sharpen, their painted smiles stretching into impossible rictus grins. There was no escape. The Ferris wheel, now turning at a dizzying speed, cast long, distorted shadows that danced like specters. The carousel horses galloped in a frantic, silent race. The carnival had claimed them, just as it had claimed so many others before. The laughter, once forgotten, now echoed through the night, a chilling testament to the carnival's enduring hunger. It was the laughter of forgotten children, of lost souls, and of the carnival itself, forever feasting on fear.